First of all, I want to thank everybody for getting on and covering Penn State football and obviously covering the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. It's been a great opportunity. I want to thank Chick-fil-A. I want to thank the Peach Bowl. I want to thank the Marriott Marquis. It's been awesome. We've had a great experience so far. Also would like to take a minute and thank Georgia Tech. We were able to go over and use their facilities for practice on Sunday, I think it was. And it's been great. We've had a really, really good experience. So appreciate everybody there. Obviously, great opportunity. First time ever playing Ole Miss, which is unusual in 2023 to say two storied programs like Penn State and Ole Miss had never played each other before. Pretty cool opportunity. And then for Penn State specifically, an opportunity to be the first program to ever win all 6 New Year's Six bowl games. Never been done before, and with the opportunity of doing it, if we do it, it'll never be done again. Based on us going to the playoffs after this anyway. So, really cool opportunity. Our guys have been great. I'm thankful to them. They've done a really good job of knowing when it's time to work and when it's time to enjoy themselves. To me, that's what bowl games are all about. But again, the city of Atlanta, Chick-fil-A, the Peach Bowl, Marriott Marquis, everybody's been awesome to us, and we're very appreciative of the opportunity. So open up the questions.
Appreciate that, Coach. All right, we'll jump into questions. We'll take our first question from Mark Brennan of Lions 247. Go ahead, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, James. Thank you for your time. You got me?
Yes, sir. Hey, Mark.
Hey, we weren't sure what Kalen's situation was. I'm sure you were pretty sure about it, but can you tell us what it means to have him here at the bowl site and available for the game?
Yeah, I think you guys have heard me talk about this in the past. These are different times in college football, and we've worked really hard to create a relationship with our players that there can be open and honest dialogue and discussions. We've tried to create an environment where really there's no reason for any player to opt out. And what I mean by that is, all the way back to Saquon Barkley, who is being projected as a top 15 pick. There's a way to do this where the player, the family, the agents, whoever, everybody's comfortable with the plan. And, to be able to finish this season with your teammates, I think is important. But I also understand, the challenge of it. So, just try to have great conversations and discussion. Kalen was great. Kalen's parents were great. Had really good discussions and came up with a plan that everybody was comfortable with. So great to have him here and be a part of the program, for one more game.
All right, we'll take our next question from Greg Piquel, Blue White Illustrated. Go ahead, Greg.
Coach, good afternoon. Thanks for your time.
Hey, Greg.
Hey, so at your Bowl Media Day news conference, you kind of joked about.
I was a little confused, Greg, at first who it was. He said Piquel. I didn't know if you got fancy on me over the last couple of weeks.
No fanciness, not after this day, especially. You made a joke last week or 2 weeks ago about guys maybe not needing to announce they were coming back. That should be the expectation. But Tyler Warren did put out, since we last talked to you, that he's coming back next year. What does that mean to you and your program as you get ready to springboard with this game into 2024?
Yeah, obviously him and Theo both had some decisions to make. Theo made his decision, and we're very, very supportive of that, and Tyler made his, and obviously we're supportive and excited about that. Now we have a responsibility for all these guys, just like we did with Olu, to make sure that we do everything in our power that it was the right decision. And again, healthy discussions with both Tyler's mom and dad, Coach Howell, myself, Chuck Losey, of what that would look like. And, we've been fortunate. Andy Frank does a really good job. Him and Chuck Losey are working with all the NFL scouts and GMs and getting really good feedback about where guys are at. But the other thing is not just where you're being anticipated or predicted of being drafted. What are your strengths? And then what are your weaknesses? And if a guy decides to come back, how do we attack those weaknesses over the next, 7 months so that they're in a much better position next year, and so are we as an organization. So, we've done a really good job of recruiting and developing the tight end room. I think Tyler really helps us because there's some guys behind him we think are really talented, but it sure is nice to have a veteran back while those guys are gaining some experience. So, a real positive for us in this game and a real positive for us moving in, to the season.
All right, we'll go next to Joe Smeltzer. Go ahead, Joe.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, James, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Am I coming in okay? All right, awesome.
Yes,
so,
sir.
Talking about what have your impressions been of Jaxson Dart, what you've seen of him thus far?
I lost you there. You were talking and you just kind of went away.
Jaxson Dart, what did you see?
Yeah, you're starting out good. Jaxson comes through clear, and then all of a sudden you go off.
Yeah, Coach, I think he's asking about your impressions of Jaxson Dart.
Yeah, I assumed that, but I didn't want to assume. I wanted to make sure. Obviously you look at his numbers. They've put up really good numbers in the passing game in terms of yards per attempt, in terms of completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio. He's also a guy that can beat you with his mind and decision making, with his arm and accuracy, but then also with his feet. So, they're a challenging offense. You take his athleticism, you take their tempo. They're one of the better offenses that we've seen this year. So it's going to be a challenge. And, Lane's always done a really good job, specifically on that side of the ball. So it'll be a challenge. And obviously, as we know in college football, or really at any level in football, your quarterback, has a major impact and factor in your success. So, a ton of respect for him for what we've seen on film so far.
All right, let's go next to Ali Barui. Go ahead, Ali.
Hey, Ali.
Coach, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. When we talked to Gary Stoken a couple weeks ago, he said, obviously they were excited to welcome you guys to Atlanta, but that Mercedes-Benz also hosting a playoff game next year and the national championship. So he said he's hoping you guys come back to Atlanta a couple times. How much can this type of an environment prepare you for your future goals? For those guys who are coming back for 2024, how much does a Peach Bowl appearance help prepare you for next season and a potential playoff run?
Well, first of all, I want to thank Gary. Gary's been awesome. I've known Gary for a long time, and he's a pro. He's a football guy and has been doing this a long time, and he's been a pleasure to work with. I've been very impressed with everything from the Peach Bowl, and Gary obviously is leading it from the top. So appreciate that. But yeah, I think these bowl games in a lot of ways, they are obviously the ending point of your season. That's obvious, but I do think there's a lot of discussion and argument about. You could also make the argument they're the first game of next season for you. You're probably going to have some situations where you're going to have some players that maybe were playing complementary roles for most of the season are going to have bigger roles in this game. So that's an opportunity for them. It's also an opportunity for the coaches to have them ready to play. That's part of it. That's part of this bowl season. So yeah, I think there's a lot to be said that, yeah, this is the finishing touches of last season, but I think there's also an opportunity for us to get some momentum from this going into next season. And some of the guys that are going to play bigger roles on Saturday are obviously going to play bigger roles next year. So, besides that, I'll probably leave it at that, but I appreciate the question.
All right, we'll go next to Megan Hall from USA Today. Go ahead, Megan.
Hey, Coach. Good to see you. Wanted to ask you the question. So we talked to obviously Coach Kiffin earlier. He was very complimentary of you and your team. And in my mind, I thought, hey, this must be a really good opportunity to ask about folks kind of behind the scenes, your staff. One of the things Coach Kiffin talked about was your top defense. So I'm just wondering, I guess, can you talk a little bit about your staff and what you think of the work that they've done this season?
Well, it's interesting because when you first started that question, I was thinking about Kevin Threlkill, and I was thinking about Destiny. I was thinking about Ben Kerr. I was thinking about Will Ryman. I thought that's what you were asking at first. These are all our ops people that plan this whole trip, from the hotel to the meetings to the meals and everything, and they do a phenomenal job. We actually talked about that in our staff meeting this morning, and not taking all the organizational stuff that goes into it for granted. But yeah, our staff has been phenomenal. I mean, we're in a little bit different situation because we've had change at both the offensive and defensive coordinator positions. Obviously, Manny Diaz has now become the head coach at Duke, and we wish him nothing but success. Did a great job for us for the 2 years that he was with us. You know, we've been fortunate. We've had a number of coaches leave our program to go be head coaches. So, you know, that's also, I think, shined a light on my staff as well, because at the end of the season on offense, you know, we made a change as the offensive coordinator, and Jaywan Sider and Ty House stepped up into that role. And really, we played well the last 2 games of the year on offense. So on defense, we got, you know, Anthony Poindexter and Rob Smith stepping up into that role. And, you know, we've played as good, if not the best defense in all of college football, arguably, depending on which metric you're looking at, the number 1 defense in college football. And we're going to need that against the Fighting Lane Kiffins over there at Ole Miss. They do a great job. I got a ton of respect for him, and it should be a heck of a game.
All right, time for just a couple more with Coach. We'll go next to John Patashnock. Go ahead, John.
Hey, John.
Hey, James, good to see you. Appreciate your time.
You too.
Hey, beyond recruiting, what do you believe can be gained by playing in a new city, a new bowl, and giving some people the opportunity to see Penn State football up close for the first time?
Yeah, so I think a couple things. I think, you know, the amount of time that we're down here and going to the Martin Luther King Museum, there's an opportunity there, right, for our guys to experience some of that. For them to be able to go into Mercedes-Benz Stadium, cool experience. We practiced in there today. I thought that was great. Some of those venues, I think, help you, whether it's for bowl games, whether it's for conference championship games, you know, whether it's the playoffs, playing in some of those venues. I think there's value in that as well. So you don't have a number of guys walking into those stadiums kind of, you know, looking around and kind of awestruck. Us playing that last game of the year, you know, at Michigan State in the Detroit Lions Stadium, I thought there was value in that as well. But I think also, to your point, I think, you know, Penn State being one of the most storied programs in college football, but being able to come down into SEC country and allow maybe some people to see us that normally wouldn't see us, specifically live rather than on TV. No different than us going to Auburn 2 years ago and playing well. And I think maybe a portion of the country got a chance to see us live that normally doesn't see us live, and says, hey, you know, Big Ten plays good football and Penn State plays really good football, and we got the chance to see it firsthand. I think there's value in that as well. Even some of the media. You got some of the local media that maybe hasn't had a chance to see us up and close and in person. I think there's value in that as well. So there's a ton of different reasons for our players to get out into a different part of the country, for our staff to play an SEC opponent that we got a ton of respect for, to play in this type of venue. I think there's a lot of reasons why this makes sense, and why I think, you know, the bowl experience is still valuable for college football and for our players.
All right, we'll take our final question for Coach from Seth Angle from the Daily Collegian. Go ahead, Seth.
Hey, James, how are you?
Hey, Seth.
Now that signing day is in the past and you have the 2 new coordinators for next year, what does this past week kind of look like for you to kind of get back to football in a way? And have you kind of seen the 2 new coaches kind of mesh in practices?
Well, a couple things. So one of the things I would like to say is I'm very appreciative of the staff and the job they did. I think we take it for granted at Penn State having a drama-free signing day. That's unusual in college football. and we've been able to do that on a fairly consistent basis, and I think people take that for granted. On top of that, our recruiting staff did a great job. Our assistants did a great job because, again, we had change at both coordinator positions right before signing day. Most people, when that happens, you're going to lose some recruits because of it. Again, we didn't have any of that, so I think there's value in that. But having both Tom and Andy here, obviously you'd prefer not to have changes be made, but if they are made, I think there's a ton of value in doing what we're doing. Tom's ability to be around the staff, Andy's ability to be around the staff, staff meetings, game planning, watching film, watching the players, how we do things. So Tom's not out there at practice and Andy's not there out at practice during spring ball, still trying to kind of get a feel for how we practice and how we go about our business. So I think there's a ton of value. I think I've said it in the past. Joe Moorhead did it this way. Manny Diaz did it this way. I think there's a lot of value in doing it this way, and I think it for more times than not, it has allowed us to springboard the day after the season ends and really hit the ground running.
Well, thank you very much for your time. We'll end it for you there, and we'll get your players in next. We'll let you get back to work.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.